Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Harshita. I guess we're already pretty late. It's been 7 minutes, so let's start. Welcome to our first policy marathon, and we're all here to be diving into a very crucial topic, which is how can we reduce the dropout rate in secondary education. I hope you all can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up or a hand raise, anything, any reaction. All right. Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you, Krishna. Okay. So, yeah, we are all here. We'll be diving into a very crucial topic, which is how can we reduce the dropout rate in secondary education. As we all know, even today, lakhs of students in India leave school before even completing their secondary education. And there are only, so many reasons we all can think of: poverty, gender discrimination, mental health problems, lack of infrastructure, lack of interest, child labor, a lot of them. But the impact always remains the same, the loss of opportunities, not just for a child, but for the whole nation. And I hope you all have researched well on the topic and brainstormed inclusive and unique solutions. We'd all love to hear, the thoughts on such a crucial topic that lies at the heart of Indian education's progress. And I also hope that you have all read the guidelines. Let me just brief them up for you. You're expected to keep your camera on while speaking and also sit at a place where the connection is stable so that the call doesn't get disrupted in between, and stay muted at all times apart from when you're speaking. If you want to speak anything, just raise your hand and then we can recognize you. We're all allowed to share our inputs on each other's thoughts and speeches, and just share our questions. So just raise your hand and then we can go ahead. So thank you, and let's begin. Okay. So people who are prepared, they can raise their hand and I can start recognizing them. We can begin. Anyone who's ready to go first? All right, Latika, great. Latika, can you please turn on your camera? Hi, Latika. Okay, please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, good evening, everyone. So considering the time constraint, I'll go a bit fast. So I would like to draw your attention to the major reasons for the dropout rate in secondary education, followed by a policy recommendation for the same. So while I was going through some of the papers, I saw a unique survey where I saw where it was questioned what are the major reasons for dropout. And the most voted one was physical disorder, which was even before financial constraint. So the policy recommendation for the same would be encouraging just a second. Sorry. Yeah, so the policy recommendation for the same would be encouraging partnership between government educational institutions and public health, which will not only look after the physical health of the children, but also the mental health of of the kids, which would definitely encourage families to continue education of their kids. It should also be noted that the midday meal scheme can be expanded under the same for secondary education as well. Number two is free access to secondary education. The major problem after physical disorder was that of financial constraint. Uh, the free and compulsory education has been restricted till the age of 14 years. So again, when this policy can be expanded through various policies and schemes by the government, providing scholarships and fee waivers to children belonging to financially backward families. Another major issue was distance from schooling. So for this, we can leverage various digital platforms to provide quality education to children living in remote areas. At the same time, it should be ensured that the content which is being provided to the children should be engaging, creative, so that the child is encouraged to complete their respective courses. And Another major reason found in most of the surveys is lack of interest and unable to cope up with failure in exams. So again, the same recommendation to provide engaging practical curriculum and not just focus on rote learning, where children who can do well in rote learning can perform better in exams, and the others feel like a failure. So this is another issue. And last but not the least, poor investment on school infrastructure is another issue. One of the most common examples would be the condition or probably the absence of toilet infrastructure in various schools. This mainly discourages girls from continuing schools due to the onset of puberty. To conclude, I would say that one of the most important or the simplest step to begin with would be to expand the existing policies, which are usually limited till the age of 14 years. We have seen the success of these policies like midday meal scheme, provision for free and compulsory education. So expanding them would be one of the first key steps. Thank you. That's all from my
Thank you, Latika. Those were some really nice points and an extremely unique take. Anyone who has any questions or any opinions, any insights, please, before we move on to our next speaker. Anyone can raise their hand. Any opinions, anything is welcome. Yes, let's not make this boring. Let's, all engage and connect with each other. Okay. So seeing none, let's move on to our next speaker. Anyone who would like to volunteer to be our next speaker? Great. We have Nidhi. Nidhi, can you please turn on the camera?
Yes, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. You can go ahead. The floor is all yours.
Also, I hope you don't mind. I have a few points written down if I could just like refer to them.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah. Um, so I was listening to Latika's take on the argument, right? And I realized that um, the input that we got, a lot of it was very insightful, practical solutions. And I was expecting a lot of practical solutions to the problem, right? What I really wanted to focus was on kind of theoretical, kind of the philosophy of the systemic barrier in the first place. So when I first started reading up on the topic, I realized that I wanted my argument to be based off of this very curious statistic that I came across in a UN report while researching, and I'll just read it out to you. Um, so it turns out that India's Gini coefficient rose from 0.371 in 1955 to 0.410 in 2023. Now, in theory, for those who don't know what Gini coefficient is, it's basically a widely used statistic which is used to calculate the economic inequality in a nation, basically. And now let's contrast this with the cost of education today, right? According to the report, the cost of education in India, on an average, increases at an alarming rate of 10 to 12% annually. Now, why this is alarming is because the percentage often increases the overall level of inflation rate also at some points in time. Now, coming to my argument, in recent years, neoliberalism or capitalism, as it is usually known as, has played a major role in absolutely everything, right? Be it the kind of things you buy, be it the kind of cinema that you watch, be it the kind of food you eat, and even what you learn, right? In the education sector, especially, neoliberalism, it emphasizes privatization, it emphasizes marketization, and it also emphasizes individual responsibility. This structure kind of leads to the encouraging of a market based approach where schools kind of compete for students, right? Um, Based off of their perceived quality linked to fees and their resources, which means that renowned private schools are now allowed, who offer supposedly better education, rightfully charge higher fees to families in order for them to educate their children. And sadly, not everybody can afford to have such a better education today. Um, Even today, sadly, 6.52 crore families in India still struggle to put food on the table for their families. when this is the situation, secondary education kind of becomes a secondary focus to these families, right? Um, they often operate on tight margins and they cannot absorb the high costs of private schooling or the rising costs associated with even nominally affordable options that are available in the market when it comes to secondary education. This harsh economic reality forces them to kind of withdraw their children from the education sector entirely, um, prioritizing their immediate economic needs and long-term educational benefits. Um, Now, in a world where even basic resources like textbooks, uniforms, or even food at the canteen can become avenues for profit maximization, what we should focus on, and this is kind of going to be like a policy recommendation of mine, what we should focus on should be shifting away from this profit driven model of education in itself and towards a vision of education kind of becoming a fundamental right again, and a kind of a public good instead of a private good, right? And this can be done through various means. So maybe significant public investment in public secondary education, its infrastructure, quality, regulation of private school fees and its operations, and more importantly, I think strengthening accountability mechanisms in education systems for all kind of education institutions, right? Um, Now, to conclude, I would just say that instead of looking at the issue of the higher secondary dropout rates in India as a consequence of individual shortcomings, looking at it as like a systemic failure will allow us to effectively address the problem at its source. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Those were really insightful statistics. They really helped us understand the gravity of the situation, and that was a pretty deep and nice analysis of the situation. Anyone who has any questions or opinions, anything for Nidhi? Anything? Like you can raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none, we can move on to the next speaker. Anyone willing to be the next speaker, please raise your hand. Guys, you'll have to raise your hand or I'll have to pick someone randomly. Okay, so I guess I'll have to pick someone on my own. Um, Ashna, are you willing to go next? Ashna, are you there? Okay. Anjali? It's okay. We need participation, guys. You can all just share your thoughts on the issue. It's okay, even if you've not researched well, you can just share your opinion or your take on the issue. We're all here to listen and learn. Anjali, Ashna, anyone? Uh, all right, no issues. Deepika? Deepika, would you like to go next?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, Deepika, you are perfectly audible. You can go ahead.
I believe there is noise in my background. So if I go after 5 to 10 minutes, is it okay?
Okay,
Because
yeah, sure, no issues. Then we can recognize someone else till then. Um, Deepabali? Deepabali? I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes, yes, I will.
Yeah, are you willing to go next?
Okay.
Okay, great. Can you please turn on? All right, perfect. Great.
Okay, good evening, everyone. As today we are all are here gathered to address the issue of dropout issue in India. Like
if we will see, we will find that our Indian education system is one of the largest education system in the world, but still it lacks most of the essential things that we can't ignore, which becomes the reason of dropout issue in our country. Like if we will if we will see the issues, there are several issues. Like one of the major issues is parental characteristic. If uh, dropout rate among the children with illiterate parents was 4 times higher than the one literate parents. Like uh, we have to counter this problem. Like we have to create awareness among the parents, like among the parents, so that they can encourage their children to go to schools and all. And another major problem is poverty. Like uh, many parents from economically weaker sections encourage their children to drop out from their schools so that they can help them in their domestic work, or uh, help in labor work, so that they can earn some extra earning. So this also creates a major problem for the children to that they cannot continue their education for the further secondary level. And there are also lack of transport, mainly in rural areas. If we see that most of the students, mainly girls students, left their schools after sometimes because they find it very hard to reach their school. There is a very long distance between their home and school. So uh, we should uh, uh, we should maintain a proper transportation system so that they don't find issue in this thing. And uh, if we will see that most of the schools in our India lacks basic infrastructure, like a proper sanitation problem and proper classroom system. These are the basic infrastructure that we need. If and if these will be not present, then obviously student will not think their education as important, and they don't gain interest in education. So these were the some problems that we need to counter and solve these problem as soon as possible, so that uh, this don't create any kind of problem in dropout issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepavali. Anyone who has any questions, any opinions from another angle, any other perspectives? Anyone, you can raise your hands or unmute yourselves. All right. I'm seeing none. So let's move on to the next speaker. Anyone who's willing to go next? Uh, all right, no issues, Goober. It's fine. Sanika, are you willing to go next? Sorry, I can't hear you. All right, please go ahead. Can you please turn on your camera? That's great. Go ahead.
So, as we all know that India has made a progress in education, but the secondary school dropout rate is still a serious concern for India, especially among girls, then children from rural areas, and also marginalized communities. So, if we want to reduce this dropout rate, we must focus on a mix of economic, social, and educational reforms. Many students drop out because their families can't afford school related expenses, or they are expected to contribute to household income due to their poverty. So to fix this, the government should expand scholarships. It should provide textbooks, uniforms, and bicycles for free, and also continue the incentives, like the direct benefit transfer to keep the children in schools. Then extending the midday meal scheme to secondary levels can also help. We can introduce flexible learning options like the evening classes or online lessons to the students who need to work during the day. Okay, then the gender related and safety concerns are also there. It also push many girls out of school. Lack of separate toilets, long distances to school, and early marriages, it all contribute to school dropout rate. So we must ensure gender sensitive infrastructure in schools and safe transport facilities, especially in rural areas like the Manav Vikas Mission in Maharashtra. It provides free bus services for rural girls to address transportation barriers, and it also promote continuation in education. The another major reason I think is lack of relevance in the curriculum. Like when students don't see value in what they are learning, they lose interest, especially in urban areas. So we need to integrate skill-based vocational and digital education into the curriculum. Then it will make learning more practical, and it will also make the children future ready, and it will increase motivation in them to stay in school. Also, the teachers should teach with more interest and dedication, which will inspire the children to attend schools regularly. Then also there is a lack of individual support for students who struggle academically or emotionally. So we should invest in school counselors, then teacher training and mentoring programs. It will create a more nurturing environment, a more friendly environment for students. Then the parents, local leaders, or the school management committees, they also work together to track down and bring back the dropouts. In Delhi, the East District Police launched this initiative called the Nai Disha. So, where police officers visit homes of school dropouts to engage with families to encourage the re-enrollment of students. Another example I would like to give is Back to School campaign 2025. In Jharkhand, the education department identified over 59,000 school dropouts, and it initiated a campaign involving local panchayats, then parents, and also school committees to facilitate the re-enrollment of students. So, in short, many efforts are already being taken to reduce the dropout rates in India, but it will require more economic support, safe and inclusive infrastructure, and implementation of these existing schemes, community engagement from the state. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanika. Those were really nice, practical, and innovative solutions.
Thank
Anyone
you,
who
ma'am.
has a take, yeah, anyone who has a take on Sanika's speech, any perspective, any question, you can go ahead. Anyone? Deepika, you have any question?
Ma'am, I would just like to say that her speech was really nice, and also she added very examples for each word and sentences that she said. So that was very nice. That I would like to say.
Thank you so much, Deepika.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Deepika, for your opinion. Uh, okay. So next up, it was, I guess Ashna wanted to go. Ashna, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes. Can you turn on the camera? All right, great. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So today we are here to discuss how can India reduce dropout rates in secondary education. So as we all know, and my fellow speakers also mentioned, that a major reason why students drop out for secondary education is due to the poverty
and their economic status, so they are unable to afford it. And secondary education often seems unnecessary or additional to what they have already received the education. The right to education ensures that students must gain education till the age of 14, but after that, it seems irrelevant to gain more education or more theoretical knowledge. Since in secondary education, it is very much focused on theoretical, and as Sanika mentioned, that skills need to be introduced as well in the curriculum. So, to ensure students are engaged and learn while in secondary schools, they need to introduce skills and skills-based education. We should teach basic skills like finance management, basic healthcare, and skills related to dairy management, animal husbandry, and other that are relevant to the poverty, like to the lower class families and those who engage in these activities on a daily basis, whose main, let's say, occupation is agriculture related. And since our nation is an agriculture based nation, we have most of the industries are agriculture based, so we should focus on those aspects as well. We should focus on making students, even from high school, be ready to enter the working world as soon as they graduate from school, so that they are able to continue their education as well and support their family as well. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
That was awesome, Ashna. Thank you so much. Anyone who has any take on Ashna's speech? Any questions? Simran, do you want to say anything? Simran, you are unmute. Do you want to say anything?
No. Sorry.
All right, no issues. Anyone else? Any different perspectives? Or if you just agree to Ashna's speech, you could just let us know a small opinion. It always encourages others. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the next speaker. Anyone who's willing to go next? Okay, Vaishnavi, great. Vaishnavi, can you please turn on your camera? Perfect. Vaishnavi, the floor is all yours. You may go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So previously, everybody else that mentioned about vocational training, or I think when Ashna spoke, she mentioned about agriculture, which is appropriate for rural areas. But let's focus on the aspects which affect the urban areas, and I'd like to focus on the aspirational and motivation part that pushes students towards education. Because the internship we're doing, there are so many people who are doing masters, they have done their PhD. It's because they're motivated to study. That's why they push themselves to study more, achieve higher grades. But that's something the students from government schools struggle. So I'd like to focus on that aspect. The issue of school dropouts in secondary education remains a major challenge in India. While access to primary education has improved, many students still leave school before completing higher grades. To address this, the Indian government must take a multi pronged approach. Firstly, vocational training must be integrated into school curriculum, especially from class 9 onwards. When students learn practical skills like tailoring, coding, electrical work, or digital marketing, they see education as directly relevant to their lives. It gives them a pathway to employment, making school more meaningful and motivating them to stay. Secondly, training for entry level jobs in the organized sector should be made accessible. Most dropouts tend to work in the informal sector where wages are low and job security is non existent. If students can clearly see that finishing school leads to a formal job with better pay and dignity, they are more likely to continue their education. In addition, career counseling and mentorship programs can help students understand their options and build aspirations. Many students drop out simply because they can't envision a future that education leads to. Finally, financial support through scholarships, free transportation, and midday meals at the secondary level can relieve the economic pressure on families that push children to drop out and work instead. In conclusion, reducing dropout rates requires making education more practical, aspirational, and accessible. By investing in vocational training, job linked skills, and accessibility, uh, and supportive infrastructure, the government can help young people see school not as a burden but as a bridge to a better life. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ishanvi. Those were some really insightful points and detailed analysis. Anyone who has any comment or any take on Vaishnavi's speech can go ahead. You can just unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, Ashley. Just say anything.
Yeah, I would like to say that it was a wonderful speech, Vaishnavi, very insightful and amazing.
Thank you, Ashna.
Yeah, Vaishnavi and previously someone else also talked about the vocational studies. So don't you think that in NEP the government is trying to include the same thing? So how do you think like, how far this will do some effect or change the conditions and just decrease the dropout rates?
I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear your question properly.
Sakshi, I believe there's some problem with your mic. Could you just check it up once? Or you can just drop down your question in the chat, if that's okay with you.
Am I audible now?
Vaishnavi, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay, Sakshi, go ahead.
Yeah. Vaishnavi, you and previously someone else also talked about the vocational courses, like inclusion of vocational courses in the education curriculum. So, in NEP, the government is trying to include the same thing. So, do you think how much this is going to affect or change the conditions for the dropout rates?
Okay, yes. I think the main reason why vocational training was introduced in NEP was because since most students that study in government schools, they come from lower economic backgrounds. For them, earning a living is more important than finishing their studies. So for that reason, if we give them trainings that helps them earn a living, they're more likely to continue studying and coming to schools. And I think that was the main reason why NEP introduced vocational training in the education sector. And I do think it's a good initiative, but as every other policy introduced by the Indian government, implementation is a very big problem. And I think implementation starts from the grassroots level. So it should be the teachers who take up this extra interest in and put in a little more effort towards teaching these small activities that the children can use and work in small stores on a, if not a lot of money for livelihood, but they could at least so they can afford food and shelter. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you so
Wouldn't
much.
it become a practical nightmare for the students who had to work both days, like the vocational training and some kind of job and the higher education? Because higher education can sometimes be a very demanding. The policy research that you have to do, the papers that you have to present, they're not something that you can just easily do. Even with the help of a mentor, it takes a lot of time, and so it would be practically difficult for the students, right?
But as I said, they're from low economic backgrounds, so they don't have the privilege of choosing education or work. They have to work for a living. Otherwise, how will they bring food to the table, and how would they have a roof over their head? So you and I, we have the option to either choose to work or continue studying. But these children don't have that option, and that is the only reason why vocational training is necessary. Because if you're not teaching them on how they can earn a living, they will not come to school because they think it's unnecessary for them to come to schools. And we want to educate children, we want to create literate citizens. So for that, education, vocational training in education is necessary to keep them in schools. They don't have that choice to, okay, I'll only work, or I won't study, or I'll only study, I won't work. Like they can't make that choice. They have to do both, because they're underprivileged. So it can be difficult for them, but it's not impractical. That's just their life. They have to live it that way.
That rather grim perspective, don't you think? Like we should try to level a playing field for them instead of just saying that basically that they have to suck it up and just keep on living the way they do.
Uh, See, like you and I, we can't go and donate for everybody, so that they also have a better livelihood. This is how they create a better life, right? By getting educated, and by they start by doing small works. And then if you take electrical work as an example, first they could start working in somebody's shop, and then they could, earn enough money, save up, and open their own electrical store. So this is how they're making their life better. This is how they're increasing their living standards, by working, and by getting educated. So like you said, it's not fair for us to tell them to just suck it up and do it, but we don't have an option. Like they also don't have an option. They just have to suck it up and do it, or else they're going to have to continue living in these poor conditions. They're going to raise children in a poor condition, and they're going to die in poor conditions. So if they want to live a better life, they have to do it. They don't have an option. It's unfair, but that's the reality.
Fair enough.
I think we need to address the
That was
structural
an
issues and
Krishna Priya. It would be great if you could unmute yourself and engage with everyone. Is there any problem with your mic?
Okay.
Krishna Priya, please go ahead.
I think we need to address the structural limitations, like uh, rather than focusing more on vocational and making their children be there with their fate or whatever. I think we need to work on the structural limitation, the first step. We can't say that like, okay, they are not having the choice and they are supposed to do that. We should give them the choice and we should work on that as the first step.
Okay, if that was a question, I guess my answer would be like everybody else that's been saying, that we need to uh, try to reduce the class discrimination and build a more equal society for everybody to live in. But let's be honest, implementing NEP itself has been such a problem. It's taking so much time and efforts, and with corruption and all. If you're going to try to eliminate class discrimination in a society like India, can you imagine how long it will take to actually see results? So the most practical approach, to kind of give people the training, the advantage, the experience to make their own living, is through education. And by giving them more practical knowledge on how to work and earn a living, rather than teaching them theories like trigonometry and chemistry and physics. it's good for us. Like, okay, we can use it, we can apply for better jobs and we can do it. But the economically weaker section, the solutions we're proposing to them, it just
But
it
isn't it like creating a fragmentation?
well, again, as I said, as citizens, there's nothing we can do to solve class discrimination. And as the government, the only thing they can do to um, kind of eliminate class discrimination is to make sure that everybody is earning the right amount of money, right? So then again, we'll have to bring in the view that, okay, we need to tax rich people more and then take that money and give it to the poor. But corruption and red tapeism, it doesn't allow, it just doesn't work like that. And I feel like we're deviating from the topic. The topic was education, and now we're talking about class discrimination. So for time constraints, I think we should just focus on education right now.
Exactly, as you pointed out, that's what I was also going to say, that the topic was the education. You mentioned the vocational training part, and I want to talk about its implications. Like, if we do the vocational training, don't you think, just like how internships worked out, they were supposed to be a way to provide people with practical experiences, but as of now, what practically happens is they are just a way to gatekeep other people. Like, most of the people and those who are doing better internships, etc., they get better job qualifications, and it's just a in like this urban area it is fine, but in the rural area, most of the people can't really get a good resume because they don't have that many internships, because they don't have that many connections, and it just becomes a cycle of trap. Like, they are once again trapped by this, held back by this, instead of being empowered by it. So don't you think the vocational thing would also do the same, that they would basically, in the urban area it is fine, that they would get the opportunities because the vocational training center would get the enough funding, but in the rural areas they would, instead of being empowered by it, they would be held back because of it.
See, I think that's, you're comparing rural area and urban area. But if you take a family in a rural area, you see the parents, they're either the only thing they know about is agriculture and taking care of animals and only that. But if you provide vocational training to their children through education, at least they'll have a better opportunity than what their parents had. You can't compare what opportunities rural children have with urban area children. That's the difference. But you can compare what generation wise they have been receiving. So, uh, even though I agree that urban children and rural children will have their own set of advantages and disadvantages, but if you're comparing generation wise, the children will have it better than the parents, and I think that's how you move forward in life. Because you can't compare an urban child and a rural child, but you can compare their parents and the what the children is receiving, right? So at least, like, that's the whole part of providing education, hoping that your children will get better opportunities than what you had. So I think vocational training works in that way, not by comparing urban and rural, but by making every generation better than what it was before.
Yes, while I agree with your point, obviously, but I believe I haven't made myself clear. I wasn't really comparing rural and urban. I was just pointing out that implicating it on a wide scale might be a problem. And yes, I agree that overall it would make things better. So yes, it is a good option. Yes, but I believe I have to make myself clear. That's all.
Okay, was that a question?
Not really. I was just saying that it wasn't a rural or urban thing. I was just
Okay, okay, okay. Is that
Okay.
it? Does anybody else have a point?
Does anyone else have a point or a question to mention? Latika, you may go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to support Vaishnavi's point and to answer Kuber's question. that that over here what becomes important is the intervention by government and especially government schools in designing better vocational courses so that it becomes effective, because if you see the goal of NEP is really good and relevant, but the implementation seems a bit irrelevant and far-fetched away from its ambitions. So if the courses are well designed in a way that they become really helpful in the outside world, so that would definitely create a difference.
Okay, thank you so much, Latika. Thank you so much, Kuber. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. Thank you so much, Sakshi. Thank you so much, everyone who contributed to this discussion. It was an amazing one. And I'd appreciate if other people did that too. We are all here to listen to each other and then share our opinions. So yeah, when someone else is, giving a speech, make sure you listen to them. And if you have any opinions or points to share, or just if you want to agree with them, please go ahead and raise your hand or any question. It's all highly appreciated and highly welcome. Okay. Now moving on to the next speaker. Anyone who's willing to volunteer to be the next speaker, please raise your hand. Sakshi, great. Please turn on the camera and you may go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm audible.
Perfectly audible.
So, firstly, starting with so as well put by the essay, dropout is a complex social problem, and there is no perfect solution for it. So, if I go with this normal, yeah, if I go with the major problems which comes in the way of the dropout of the school students, then so I can just name some major problems which are all over there, like child marriage, lack of transportation, separate toilet, safety concerns, security in route of the schools, education profile of parents, lack of recreation, absence of qualified teachers, major one, and lack of guidance and counseling among students and parents, partiality, prejudices, affordability, money mindedness, lack of interest in school. So these are some of the reasons, some of the major reasons. But when we see, when we segregate our country at different levels, then we can see that the different reasons, the different areas have different problems which they are facing, students are facing, and these results in the school dropout rates, especially in secondary education, during secondary education, which I will mark as ninth and 10th standard. Why? Because many students who have studied under RTE, they were not allowed to get detained or marked as failure in up till they come to the class 8. And suddenly, when they're in standard 9th and 10th, they are facing a very different kind of evaluation methods. And now the fear of getting failed is also there, and that's there's when many girls getting dropout from the schools, and many parents think that now their girls are not studying properly, they are not getting good marks, so it's a waste of time and money to waste on their education, and better they should be married or they should help in the household chores. And this is what happens at the very grassroots level of the India. Then the other thing is the lack of research at the grassroots levels, because as I said, there are different regions, northern region, southern region, central regions, eastern regions. Like if I talk about the northern part, then Uttarakhand, there are many government schools in Uttarakhand. The children drop out from their school after class fifth. Why? Because till the fifth standard they have a school in their village only or near to their village only. But from sixth to eighth or especially for ninth, 10th education, they need to go far away. They need to relocate or they need to go to far away places, and for there they have no transportation facility. Even in some villages, they need to use the police system to go to their reach their school. That's what we used to hear from our parents. So that is still present there. and that's a concerning point for the students and the parents too. So different area-wise reasons, they have different problems, and there is no proper research studies. In Haryana, two people, Surendra Singh Rana and Suman Rani, they conducted research and they found out like the safety concerns were a major reason for Muslim and Rajputana girls to drop out from their school. And they conducted research on that. They find solutions and they increase the attendance of students, and that's how the decrease in the dropout of girls happen. So I think a basic study and a differential study is very much needed, because if we talk about schemes, government is definitely um, working on various schemes, from Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan to Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan to this NEP. So government is working on different schemes. They are providing the funds. Obviously, corruption and other things are part, but they are definitely providing funds. But when it's come to regional studies, why? Because only providing midday meal is not the only solution to attract students, and because quality of education and quality of teachers, how teachers are interacting to parents and how they are convincing them, these factors are the major factors. These are the major factors which will attract students and their parents to the to so that they can come back to school. Also, if you go to UDISC website, you will find out that the states like Gujarat, which are developed, they in their grassroots levels, village level, the dropout rate is high. Obviously, Bihar is a state; it has a high dropout rate, but it has no infrastructure at all. But when it comes to Gujarat, they have infrastructure, still their dropout rate is high. So the differential research study is needed to understand the concern of students, the concern of parents, the concern of teachers who are teaching there, the concern of principals, so that we can include all, and we can work, because as education come on in the concurrent list, so we need to every state needs to work different policies so that they can get a better solution. And with this, I would like to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. That was an amazing solution to the problem. A detailed study is indeed needed to identify the problem, the root of the problem, in fact, and then work upon it. So, yep. Anyone who has any comments, any questions? Seeing none, we'll continue the discussion with the next speaker. Anyone who's volunteering to be the next speaker, please go ahead. You can raise your hand. Anyone who wants to be the next speaker?
Ma'am, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, Avnish, please go ahead.
Okay. So imagine a girl, 14-year-old girl in some rural area in India. She has just finished her class 8 and she enjoys studying, maybe even want to be a teacher someday. But the nearest secondary school is quite far away and the transport facilities aren't that good. And her family is pressuring her to be married and they want her to be settled down. So she drops out of school. This is the situation. This is not some rare case. It happens all across the country, especially in rural areas. And we need to look at why this happens. So let's go look at the reasons one by one. First reason is the lack of basic facilities in schools, especially for girls. If you look at everyone, uh, when a family is struggling financially, education automatically takes a backseat. Even if tuition is free, we have uniforms, we have books, we have transport, and all of these things cost money. So if a child is needed to help at home with chores or earn money, the dropout rate is automatically going to increase. And when it comes to girls, the reasons multiply. The lack of proper toilet sanitation facilities, lack of menstrual hygiene, the stigma around periods, and the pressure of families to make girls settle down, marry early. All of these things add up. Then there is also this gap between different classes. For example, a student of class 9, when he is not even able to read a textbook of class 5, how is he going to cope up with class 9 syllabus? So there is this skill gap. And now I think now would be a good point to look at some solutions of what could help with these situation, these problems. I think one solution would be to give incentives to families so that they send their kids to school. Maybe help them financially, give them a financial stipend, give them a stipend when their kid completes a certain level of education, and a higher stipend when their girl completes secondary education, so that education does not feel like a burden to them. In fact, it feels like it's only helping them out. Next, basic facilities like proper toilets, proper menstrual access to menstrual hygiene products. These aren't optional; these are a necessity, and they need to be taken seriously. We need to educate people about the stigma around periods, and that it's completely normal, and it's important. The life does not stop with periods, and that women still need to carry on with their education. They do not have to stop it. We need to provide them with safety. We need to ensure those parents that it's safe to send their girls to school. We have to keep girls in school, and we need to provide safe transport facilities for them. Next would be to cover this skill gap. We may provide some remedial classes wherein if a particular student is lagging in some subjects, they may get this one-on-one teaching sessions to cover up maybe excel in that subject. Then some counselors present in school can also help them with their problems. And not just this, we can also present real life examples to them. Somebody who was someday in their shoes, in their situation, took through education is at a better place now, and show them what education can do for their life, how it can improve their life. We need to show them the impact of education. And next, one thing which is really important, I feel, is to create initiate this dialogue between different stakeholders, between parents, between students, between the community leaders, between teachers, so that they know how education is important. We need to ask parents why, for the reason why they are not sending their kids, so that we can get to the root cause of what's their particular problem. It may turn out that it's not none of these problems that I have listed. They may have be facing something completely different. So I think these are some steps which can help us to cater to those needs which these families from background areas face, lower socioeconomic classes are facing. And I think it's important that we do not see schools as just buildings. We see them as places which create future of children. After all, we know that India is not developed, but whatever it is still developing, and whatever stage India is today at, we owe it to all those people who have studied in the past, who have created opportunities. The fact that we are getting jobs today, we owe it to all those people who studied in the past, brought all those opportunities to us. And I think that education is a powerful tool. We need to make people realize how important it is and what it has done for communities. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Avnish. Anyone who's willing to give their suggestions, points, questions, please raise your hand quickly. We're running short of time. Okay, Sakshi, please go ahead.
Actually, not a question, but a point where I'm not really agreeing with Avnish. She talked about the financial incentives given to the children or the parents, or whomsoever. But I think that can't be a solution, because if we do something, if we implement something like this, then the parents will only allow their child to study up to the age or up to the classes where they are getting money. Or if the child is performing at the par level he or she is topping, or she is a very good student and they are getting the money. Because if you go to the ground level in Bihar, the Nitish government has this same scheme, and the girl child, they get cycles, they get money amount up to rupees 50,000 if they are performing good in class 10th and class 12th. But after that, they are not allowed to study. So nobody, like very few girls are doing graduation from the very grassroots level. Very few girls are doing graduation there. So I think that's not a solution. Either though we can do it like this scholarship money, like we get in colleges, we get scholarship money which we can only use to pay our fees. So maybe that can be a solution. Or other than that, I don't think that giving incentive is a solution. Giving opportunity is a better solution. Thank you.
Uh, uh, okay, I totally agree with you, Sakshi. But I think for people like these, their finance is the most important concern. Like, come on, I don't think it would be easy to convince them to send their kids to school when they don't even have enough to eat. So things like midday meals and these financial incentives, they have only been introduced to uh, encourage them to send their kids to schools. And I get it that girls are not continuing after class 12, but I think at least they are doing their education, going to school. At least they're completing till 12, and that is still dev- development, I would say. So. Uh,
Thank you so much, Sakshi and Avnish. It was a great discussion. Okay, moving on to the next speaker. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet and wish to be the next speaker, please raise your hand. Okay, Deepika, great. Please go ahead. Please turn on your camera and we will start.
Okay, ma'am. So I would just like to add to the. I'm so sorry for the noise.
No,
Firstly,
that's
I'm so sorry for the noise. Also, now as I believe all most of the topics, all the suggestions have been covered, I would just like to add some to it. And I believe the reasons for school dropouts vary very much due to various circumstances. Like in coastal areas during floods, we get to see that the schools are really made as relief camps for the people who are living there. So the students are not able to go at that times of monsoon times. No, also when the second point that I would like to say, the circumstances that students have to follow is like parents who have transferable jobs like in government jobs, so they get transfers very often, so the student also have to, they have to change school really often. But some students are there, those are able to cope up with the they have such extrovert nature that they can talk, but not every student is that much extrovert now, and so that they can't keep up with the schools. So some also after like after the primary education, when a student goes for secondary stage of education after 10 plus 2, for 10 plus 2, that there should be proper counseling for the students. Like a student at that level don't have that much information about what careers should they choose for or what stream they should go for. So I believe that teachers should be really interactive with each and every student, so that student don't just really go out for dropouts easily. They should be for knowing that what they are choosing, and they should for teach talk with every teachers or every mentor. There should be workshops for the students so that they don't just drop out from the schools. Also the teachers and student ratio I believe is less in our country, so that should be increased so that every teacher can give ample and sufficient time to every students. And several various schemes have been given by the government for students. Like there is a scheme for Rukjana Nahi, which means like whenever a student fails in any exams which are for state boards basically, so they should not just stop because they have failed. Okay, even the government is encouraging you to start your education and restart it. So you can also like go ahead and should not drop out from schools. And also I would like to say that there should be a the curriculum should also be really relevant to the students so that they are also interested in the topics. Sometimes the topics just go far ahead from the students head, so they don't even get that. So the curriculum should be really relevant. That's all I would like to add, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Deepika, for all your suggestions and solutions. Anyone with any points, suggestions, questions, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll move ahead. I guess Kuber wanted to go next. I saw his hand raised last time. Kuber, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to add a particular, most of the suggestions have been covered, but I believe the most of the suggestions have not been data driven, but most of us have been relying on our intuition and other social factors that to make a decision and announce that there is an XYZ problem without essentially doing a more data driven approach. Like we need to, first of all, we need to survey where the dropout rate exists. What are the particular reasons? Is it because of, like, for among girls it could be due to sanitation problems, or it could be due to like the pressure of being married, or it could be various factors. We need to first make a more broad general sense of data of why the people are leaving the education in the way they are, and then we need to move on towards a solution, and that eliminates our biases and also give us a more concrete approach on, like, we can apply the Pareto principle here as well, like the 80-20 principle. Like we need to focus on the key issues that are majorly affecting the area of population, and we need to generalize. First of all, we need to break down the issue in more local settings as well. Like we can't really expect a one size fits all solution. Like we can't really expect India, in such a diverse country, we can't expect that one solution would be able to implement it across scale in all the different social paradigms. So we need to localize our problems, like, and also localize the solutions. We need a more, first of all, we need a more ground related data, like in that particular area, what is the more key problem? Is it the social factors that are the concern? We need to reform and develop an approach according to that, or is it something else? That's my suggestion as of now.
Thank you so much, Kuber. Your solutions and suggestions were really well said and well put with backed up analysis and examples. So thank you so much. Anyone with any points, opinions, please go ahead. Okay, seeing none, now we have only two speakers left, Shaurya and Krishna Priya. Anyone who wants to go first, Shaurya and Krishna Priya? Only you two are left. Shaurya, would you like to go first? Shaurya, are you there? Okay, seeing no response. Krishna Priya, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Please turn on your camera and then you can go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, perfectly audible.
Yeah. So I think in India, with this diverse population, a factor which is uh, making people not choose education as a priority is the socio-economic political disparity that exists here. So making flexibility and inclusive education uh, the first focus is a solution for this to reduce the dropout rates in higher secondary education. So I think giving financial assistance and scholarships, as we discussed already, uh, along with providing more interesting incentives like midday meal programs and language assistance and cultural sensitivity in instruction, all those will add to this. So taking the case of the National Institute of Open Schooling, which is working in Delhi. So by integrating flexibility and inclusion education to a wide range of learners, including those who may not have access to traditional school, this will help or make people uh, to have access to education by reaching both in rural and urban areas with diverse learning needs. So, so with all policy implications,
addressing the intersectionality of caste, gender, class, and other factors will help in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishna Priya. And I believe Shaurya won't be able to give his speech since he is outside. That's fine then. I guess we'll conclude the session. Shaurya, if you can give your speech, then you can just unmute. Otherwise, we can go ahead with concluding the session. All right, then, seeing no response, I guess we'll go ahead. So, yeah, thank you to everyone for their ideas, insights, and your passion today. What we have seen and discussed, it's pretty clear that reducing the dropout rate in secondary education is not just about building more schools or distributing textbooks, but it's really about creating a well-developed system that can support students emotionally, financially, and socially. I truly hope this session was as insightful for you all as it was for me. It gave me immense joy to hear such thoughtful perspectives of you all, practical solutions, and passionate voices working towards a stronger future for education in India. And I especially appreciate the points for better infrastructure because I believe they were really valid ones. And I completely agree with Sakshi, Avnish, and Hubert's suggestion to identify the root causes behind the dropouts. Also, those who highlighted that we need to, create awareness about the importance of education and the value of education. Even they touched a really crucial aspect of the discussion. Plus, Nidhi and Sanika also gave speeches. They also shared some real life examples that made the discussion even more relatable and grounded and were really great contributions. And many others, all of you brought in great and unique creative solutions that really added depth to our conversation and our discussions. I appreciate all of the contributions from you all. Your voices made this discussion so much more meaningful. Thank you once again for you all joining. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Sakshi.
you.
It was great. Thank you. I guess we all can start leaving now. Thank you all. Bye bye. Good night.